Hello, I'm William Stewart, co-founder of Teleios. Welcome back to our verse-by-verse study on the book of Acts. We're in chapter 27. I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I'm going to cover the whole chapter, and the reason is it's pure historical narrative and not a lot of theological points. And it chronicles with a lot of detail of how difficult it would be to sail on a ship back in the Roman times. Paul's journey from Caesarea to Malta. And remember, Paul had appealed to Caesar his case the Jews had brought against him. And so Festus, the procurator of Judea, was determined to let him go. And he put him on a ship under a centurion named Julius with other prisoners. And they set sail along the southern coast of Turkey. So remember back then, there were no maps. If they had a map, you may not be able to trust it. You really had to have a sailor who could read the coastlines and know where you were. They had to follow the coast for safety. So the whole journey was difficult, to say the least. If Paul had, or if you had paid somebody, a travel agent, for this vacation to Malta, it was so bad you would want your money back and probably a little more. So they traveled along the southern coast of Turkey. They came to the southwest portion of Lycia. They switched ships to an Alexandrian ship and set sail again. And this is around verses 9 to 12. A storm appeared. The crew tried to lighten the ship. Paul had warned them about continuing. They continued anyway. However, with this bad storm, Paul received God appeared to them or told him to be of good cheer. God was determined to bring Paul to Rome, as he had been telling him since Ephesus, as I remember. And actually, this was an angel of God that appeared to him, and that he must appear before Caesar. And so he basically said that he would be saved and the people with him. Paul told the people that in order to comfort them in their fear and also their hunger, as they were running short of supplies. So they continue on with the journey. They have crossed much of the Mediterranean with the storm. When they ran into it, was close to the coast of Malta. They saw the island. They weren't really sure what the island was. They tried then to near the land so they could get to the land and safety. The ship ran aground, and despite efforts to save it, it broke apart. So Paul, by this time, had really taken over the leadership of the journey and telling them that they would be safe to swim if they could, grab a piece of wood, and they all eventually made their way to land onto Malta, which is southwest of the tip of the boot of Italy. So that concludes really the chapter. I'm sorry to summarize it so quickly, but I think hopefully it gives you a sense of the overview of what Paul went through, God's providence in his life, and again, God taking care of Paul and to bring about his purpose to bring him before Caesar. So a theme of these last chapters of Acts, as we've been discussing, this part of Paul's life after his missionary journeys, is to present to the Roman authorities himself and Christianity, I think, as an apology. And I think it helped pave the way for the Roman Empire to at least let Christianity alone before regional and persecutions begin, such as Nero from 64 to 68 AD, and the empire-wide persecutions in Decius and Diocletian around 250 and 303 AD, before Christianity was mercifully legalized in 313 in the Edict of Milan. Okay, so Paul's playing an important role here to allow that God uses, I think, to help spread the gospel in the Roman Empire, using those Roman roads and the postal system to establish Christianity. Okay, so we'll talk next time. We'll begin chapter 28, Paul in Malta, and then his final journey over to Rome. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.